welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. We are on the final episode of Elantris. We read all the rest of the chapters from 57 through to the epilogue, and then we will be live reading the postscript from the 10th anniversary edition of the book. The special extra, 2-3 page content. So, none of us technically have read that, even myself. Although I know what's in it, they don't. So
And we get to know the secret that she's been keeping from me for
that
3 fucking episodes.
actually was gonna be. I had a question before we get into the first chapter. I had mentioned that there was something cool that you would both find very intriguing in this book that was not related specifically to the plot. Do you have any idea what that was referring to yet?
No,
We'll
no
go over it
goddamn
later if you
clue.
don't. Hmm?
We're sitting here talking about Warbreaker, and nothing reminds me of Warbreaker, so I don't understand where your thought pattern was there.
Darkness, do you have any idea what the secret cool thing was that I was talking about? Do you catch on? If not, we'll go through it. You'll figure it out by the end of the podcast.
There's a lot of secret cool things. What do you mean?
There was something that I said you guys were going to find super intriguing that was not related to the plot of Elantris in this book. I'll assume you guys didn't figure it out. That's fine. We'll get into it when we get there. So chapter 57, we start with Harathan's point of view. So he is watching who he thinks is a fake Rauden take the throne, and he also finds himself jealous that Serene seems to care for the fake Rauden. However, he pushes those thoughts aside as he thinks that he has barely a month to figure out a way to convert Erelon. Harathan is then shocked as he sees Rauden change into an Elantrian and wonders if Rauden had actually been in Elantris all along. He then notices Dilaf and follows him out, thinking about how Dilaf was right that he should have focused on the Elantrians more because then they wouldn't have accepted Rauden as their king. He is then so he follows Dilaf and he's confused when he realizes Dilaf is moving to the markets instead of to the chapel. Torchlights come on and Harathan is horrified as he sees men with arms like knotted tree branches, skin pulled tight over strange ridges and unspoken symbols. Wyrn had sent the monks of Dakor, and the invasion was to happen a month early. So when you were first reading this, what were your thoughts when you learned the monks of Dakor were here?
Cool. Burn the whole city, kill everybody.
I was gonna say the whole city's gonna burn.
And then we get to chapter 58. We get a new Aeon, which is Aeon El, meaning helpfulness and aid. And we move to Rauden's point of view. Later that night, he wakes up to fighting and smoke. He runs outside and sees demons. He sees a soldier score a hit on it, but it barely scratches the creature instead of slicing it. Rauden then recognizes one of the demons as Dilaf, who jumps over and punches Rauden in the stomach. So, when you first saw that Dilaf was a Dakor monk, were you surprised?
No.
I feel like one of us had a theory about that too.
I didn't have a theory he was a Dakor monk, but I had a theory that he was like an Elantrian. But I kind of it almost seems as if they should be, to be honest, from what it goes through and how like their bullshit is. But
yeah, we're gonna get into a lot of stuff about the Dakor monks and his wife later.
Yeah, his wife.
So we then switch to Serene's point of view as she is handing over supplies to a beggar to bring to Elantris. She notes that the beggar, named Hoyd, only would meet her at night as his men had been hiding from Iadon's farms since Iadon's rule began. Hoyd notes that the crates are heavier than usual, which Serene says is none of his business as she hands him a bag of coins. Serene notes that she has never seen Hoyd's face, but assumes he is an older man due to his voice. Did you expect that Serene was using the beggars to get supplies into Elantris?
No.
No.
I didn't think she would. I thought she was just gonna straight up do the same thing she was always doing.
You also don't get the beggar's name earlier, but this Hoyd is actually the same beggar as Harathan gave money to earlier in the book.
Yeah, I figured.
Honestly, I didn't even remember anything about a person named Hoyd or anything. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that goes with whatever this thing that doesn't have to do with the plot is. Because I had no idea this. I don't remember this person.
You don't know anything about Hoyd?
I don't remember anything about Hoyd, to be honest. But then again, I read this book literally like 2 days after we finished the last podcast.
Darkness,
so
does
I don't remember much of anything.
Hoyd ring any bells to you, Darkness?
You're really pushing this, huh?
I just feel like you guys should know something that you're not remembering. But that's fine.
I'm assuming Hoyd is the guy who was in the river the last time or whatever that found whatever the sword. But
sorry, what?
What was the guy who was fishing and he found Nightblood, when
No,
Nightblood was
that
thrown into
was
the.
that. I don't remember that guy's name. That was some guy who died.
What? You don't remember that guy's name? He was so important to
He was
Warbreaker.
meant to be the God King, Woody.
Yeah, like gosh, how do you not remember his name? Like, God, thought you were like a Sanderson stan.
He had a funny name, I feel like. I don't remember. But yeah, no, Hoyd. Hoyd the beggar. Anyways, so as the beggars head off, Serenity tells Ash to let Galadon and Karada know the shipment was coming. She then notes that the contents of the crates are swords and bows. Her carriage then suddenly stops, and Serenity hears screams. She glances out her carriage window and sees bare-chested men killing indiscriminately and one street on fire. The carriage driver tries to turn the carriage around, but one of the demons sees them. Serenity scrambles from her carriage and tries to run up the hill towards her uncle's home, but the creature grabs her ankle. She is saved, however, by Kin, who is wielding a giant axe. He repeatedly brings his axe down on the creature's head until it stops moving. Lukel then comes up to Serenity and tells her they need to move. Once back in Kin's home, Lukel pulls a lever that collapses the entryway. Serenity notes that all of Kin's family is there, along with Shunin and Tirena, who had apparently been found. Kin then mentions that he had promised to never use his axe again, and Serenity realizes who he had been. Driok the Pirate Crushthroat, or Crushed Throat, due to Kin's raspy voice. Kin then says that he had tried to steal the throne back from his brother Aventio, who had taken it while he'd been off sailing. So were you surprised that Kin was the pirate that kept being referenced?
No, kind of, but I mean, it was definitely a revelation to figure out why he was exiled.
It was cool. I
Mhm.
thought it was cool. I thought I mean, it explains a lot. Also, it made me like the king a lot less like the king. Like, I feel like he would have made a way better king, in my
But
opinion.
yeah,
That's a
I
question
agree.
I have later on, because I guess we can just say it now, because we find out, I think, in the epilogue that Kin's actually the older brother, so it should have been his throne. Like, it
Mhm.
seems like Serenity was always under the impression that Kin was the younger brother, so it was Aventio's throne always. But it was actually, Kin was the older brother. He should have been king, but he decided to go play bachelor merchant, and then Aventio took over while he was off.
Yep, stole it from him.
Yup. So, yeah, so that was going to be one of my questions later is, do you think Kin would have made a better king than Aventio?
Well, yeah, probably wouldn't send his daughter off to be unmarried.
Maybe it depends, because I feel like the exile had a lot to do in like who he is now. So I don't know.
Well, the
We
exile had
didn't.
to do
I
with
guess
who
we
he was
technically didn't know him before.
previously.
I guess we
What?
didn't really know him before.
Yeah, he was exiled because of who he was as like the pirate who came to like take over and everything. I think he's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we then go to Harathan's point of view as he watches Dilaf bring in an unconscious Raudin. Harathan asks where the glory for Jadis was in this, but Dilaf screams not to question him, which apparently Harathan can't because the leaders of monasteries are the only ones above Gjorn other than Wyrn. Harathan also notes the twisted bones under Dilaf's skin and notes the true name of the Dakar monastery is the Order of Bone. He notes that boys initiated into the monastery end up with their bones growing into strange patterns and give them abilities like enhanced strength and speed. He remembers priests chanting over him and his bones reshaping. It had been too much for him though, and he had left after a month. Dilaf confirms that he has been Fjordal all along. He also says that Harathan's quest from Wyrn had never been to convert the people of Erelon, but warn them of their coming destruction. It was to be a distraction while Dilaf prepared for the invasion. So were you surprised by Wyrn's real plans?
I mean, not really. They came to destroy the city.
I figured it was coming as soon as the fucking what's his name, Tari or whatever.
The king,
Tell
yeah. As soon as the king sent the fucking notice thing out,
Yeah.
I was like, "Yep, they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
Well,
dead."
it seems like that was the plan all along, so that's probably why he didn't like do anything about it. He's like, you're gonna be dead soon anyways. I don't give a fuck about you. Because Harathan found it strange that he wasn't more upset about that. Harathan is then upset and asks if Dilaf will really slaughter a whole nation of people. He's slapped by Dilaf and told that only people from Erelon and Teod can become Elantrians, and if they wipe them all out, there will never be another Elantrian. And that was chapter 58.
Would that slap hurt a lot more considering?
Probably.
He's just like titanium bones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably really hurt, that slap.
Like that's the part that I liked the most, because like early on in this start, like when they started explaining like the whole thing about they tried to slash them, but it was like hitting metal and shit like that they have implanted metal into their own body. I was like, kind of like this. This is what I would have done if I was an Elantrian. I would have like cut myself open and
I
put
don't think
fucking
they
metal plates
actually.
inside my skin.
I don't think they actually have metal plates inside them. I think that's how Serene describes it looking.
Yeah, like
but it's
the
actually like
texture.
pure bone. Like their bones have
Yeah.
like grown and reshapen. So they have like bone armor. They basically have like an exos. They have like a enhanced skeleton.
It's
Which if
Wolverine.
you've ever played any video games that have that kind of thing, bone armor is very weak.
Not if it's magically enhanced bone armor.
I mean, almost every bone armor that I've ever seen in any video game is very weak. It's like bottom tier shit. So
Well, it's good here.
apparently,
Realistically,
because
though,
magic. I think it's the magics, it's not the bones.
bones are really durable. Realistically, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're easily broken too, though. They just if you were skin and bones, your bones would be broken.
Mm-hmm. So we then get so for chapter 59 we get another Aeon. So we basically get, I think, a new Aeon every chapter. We get Aeon Kai, meaning calmness and solemnity. Solemnity.
I will say,
Hmm.
from the start of this book, every time you said we get an Aeon, I'm like, I've never actually gotten an Aeon because I listened to an audiobook and it doesn't say any Aeons.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
basically
either.
You're only getting it from the books.
So basically every chapter has a symbol under the chapter number, and that's the new. There's every basically. It was basically every. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Darkness is the Aeon picture under every chapter header, and it changes. It changed every Rowden point of view basically.
I was
Previously,
like, what the fuck is the words telling me what this shit is?
no. See, I looked it up because in the Ars Arcanum at the back of the book, it tells you what the
Yeah.
Aeons mean. So I would look up the Aeon and write down what it means and what it's called. That's what I've been doing. It doesn't just tell me.
So-
I've been looking them
So,
up.
see, Darkness. Both of me and you, for however many episodes we've been doing this now, I've literally said nothing
You
about
said
this.
nothing.
We're just listening to her say, "Oh yes, it gives us an Aeon," and I'm like, I have no idea what she's talking about, but it's okay because meh.
Yeah, at some point I just figured, oh, she's good. She's like the Aeon generator, you know? Like,
Yeah, she just
No.
knows all the Aeons. And,
No,
you know,
because
yeah.
the Aeons are supposed to also represent the theme for the chapters.
I've noticed that, but like
Yeah.
but I felt like maybe you were just doing very good due diligence.
No.
And we're like, I know all the Aeon names, so for each of these chapters, I'll give, or each of the Rowden chapters, I'll give a Aeon, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
yeah, I was like,
You do that. You're doing
And
way
each
more
new
work than you need
part-
to.
Each new part also had a new Aeon. Part
Oh.
1, Part 2, and Part 3 also had an Aeon.
Nope.
hey, I want to go back chapters. I'm gonna go look at some of them.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can go
you
look
should
at some.
probably
There's
do
also
that.
in the Ars Arcanum, they have them all at the end.
Oh, you're right.
Uh,
I'm already there.
Yeah, so that's where I've been looking them up, is the Ars Arcanum. But yeah, so we get Aeon Kai, meaning calmness and solemnity. So we get Rowden's point of view as he wakes up with multiple new injuries. He's in and out of consciousness as he's carried on horseback to Kin's home. He hears Dilaf shouting that he wants to make a deal with Serene, and he tries to shout no, but is unable to. We're then back at Serene's point of view. Kin is telling her that there is nothing they can do for Rowden, and Serene agrees, but says she wants to say goodbye. Kin suggests going up to the roof. Serene notes that she would trade herself for Rowden if Dilaf would agree, but she wouldn't agree to anyone else, and thinks that is what Dilaf would request if she wanted Rowden back. So did you have any thoughts about Serene being willing to give herself for Rowden?
Yes, please do it.
I feel like it's kind of stupid considering how fucked up he gets at this moment.
Yep.
It's like
Yep, just do it.
There's no hope.
Just say fuck. Just say fuck it. Everybody's dead. Goodbye, Serene. A Siri wannabe.
Oh my gosh. We switch POV again, this time to Harathans, as he watches Serene and Kin fall into Dilaf's trap. The Dakor monks capture Serene and bring her down to Dilaf. Dilaf then asks Harathans Seon, which he uses to contact Harathans Seon, which he uses to contact Aventio. He tells Aventio that he will arrive in Teod in an hour for a formal surrender, otherwise he will kill Serene. He then ends the call. Harathan is horrified that Dilaf would kill all of Teod as well. Dilaf ends up yelling that he is above Harathan and won't hesitate to kill him. He then calms himself. And he won't hesitate to kill him. He then calms himself before seeing Rowden reaching for Serene, and he shoves a sword through Rowden's stomach.
Yes, kill him.
So we're then in Rowden's point of view as he feels himself becoming consumed by the pain. His soul crumples until there is no longer pain or self, only nothingness. And
Becomes a hoe.
then we're back to Serene's point of view as she screams and runs to Rowden's body as his Hoed mantra begins. So had you expected Rowden to become a Hoed?
Yes, because he lined up the whole thing before when he said, "If I do this."
I feel like Well, because you had a theory going forward that like they were gonna kill
Yeah.
Serene and then he was just gonna become like an Elantrian, so not a Hoed.
Even after that, I was like, he's gonna become a Hoed, and he's gonna like he's gonna hear Siri scream or something, and he's like, and he's gonna not be a Hoed. I mean, I also made the theory long ago about the fact that I think Hoeds are like the closest to being the actual true Elantrians. I mean, kind of didn't come true, but still did have that theory.
So, sorry, I think I missed. Did you say you had expected it as well, Darkness?
I wasn't specifically expecting like him to have some sort of like reaction like you were, Mythic, for Serene specifically. But I mean, like if he became a hoe, then you know, I'm
He's
all
dead.
for
Nobody
it.
cares.
Yeah. I figured he would. I figured he would, and he would be taken to the pool. I just didn't think that what would happen happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can get to that eventually.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dilath then instructs his monks to gather Kin's family and take them to Elantris. He also says to gather all the Elantrians and future Elantrians and burn them all. He tells Harathan that he will come to Teod with him. And then we're at chapter 60. We get Aeon Ehe, meaning fire and warmth. I'm sure you know why it's for fire for this chapter.
He's cold.
And so, for the first time ever, we get Galadon's point of view at the start of this chapter. I guess Rauden is discarded in Elantris, and he and Krata run over. Galadon weeps tearlessly while he hears Rauden's Hoed mantra. Galadon thinks about how he and Krata had been planning on how to get the Elantrians out of Elantris when they had heard screaming, and when they got to New Elantris from the library, everyone had become a Hoed. Krata says that they need to leave, but Galadon says he had a promise to keep. He needs to get Rauden to the pool of water, and then he says they should go into it as well, as there's nothing left for them.
Good man. Throw the toaster in and then jump in yourself.
I mean, what else are you gonna do at that point?
Fight.
I don't think he wants to become a Hoed though.
I mean, still fight. You're gonna die either way.
I think I'd rather go into the blissful pool of water than be in eternal pain.
You think it's blissful, but the only person who's gone in there is the guy who literally had been a Hoed for a very long time. Has probably been in pain for most of his life. Honestly, it probably was like very blissful pain to him. He was like, "This is pain, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to die."
So we briefly then move to Lukel's point of view, as his family is taken towards Elantris. Everyone but Kin goes easily, while Kin fights them as best he can before being knocked unconscious. Lukel
That's the guy who was dancing?
No, Lukel is not the dancing guy. Shuden is the dancing guy.
Shuden is the dancing guy. Okay.
Lukel is...
He became... in these chapters, he became my favorite person.
Shuden? I love Shuden. Shuden's great.
Because he's like, I dance, and that's how I fight. And I was like, I like this. This is cool. Like, I can picture him dancing and just spinning around and
with his eyes closed,
deflecting blows. Yeah, deflecting blows with his eyes closed. I honestly was like, "Oh man, is he an Elantrian? That would be so fucking cool."
We'll get into all the potential different things in a bit.
I think you guys wouldn't like my opinion on what I had for that.
Do you not like Shuden?
I thought it was a little dumb.
Yeah, I mean, then again, Darkness, I think most of this book has been pretty dumb with the fact that Rauden just gets everything he wants.
Yeah.
But, like, to see the guy, somebody other than Rauden actually doing something that's, like,
not impossible.
Unfathomable. Yeah, unfathomable. Like, oh, I close my eyes and somehow are deflecting blows from these people, these monks who are supposed to be extremely good.
Apparently, he took one down, no?
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet, but I thought that's right.
We'll go into it then. But anyway, so Kin gets knocked unconscious, and Lukel thinks about how he knows that they are going to their execution, but that he is no warrior and has no way to do anything but hope for a quick end to his life. We're back then to Harathan's point of view as he stands in a circle with 50 monks, Dilath, and Serene. There is one monk in the center. And the symbols under the skin of the monks glow, and suddenly they're in Teod without the central monk, as he was used as fuel for their transportation. So what do you think of this form of transportation that the Dakor monks can do?
Awesome.
You just burn this person up to transport yourselves.
Do it more. Honestly, until later, I was like, that is such an awesome way of travel. Nobody should have a better travel. And then all of a sudden, Rauden just gets better travel. Like, well, fuck you too, Rauden.
The thing is, though, with the Dakor monks is I don't think they're, like, all of their power is in their their bones. So like they can do that anywhere, whereas the farther he is from, I mean, we learn this later, but the farther Rauden is from Elantris, the weaker his abilities are.
Yeah. So basically, they're more painful, better Elantrians. Got it.
And also the fact that what Rodden did could be like extremely dangerous.
But okay, first off, I think both of them could be extremely dangerous. To be all honesty, but like I feel like that dude probably just knew how to get there. Like he's probably been there before or something. You know, he knows how to teleport basically. But like I think having the way Rowden does it later and the way he does it, at least the way he does it, has a consequence that you do it. Like you have to give somebody's life to do it. Rowden is just like, nah, I just do it.
Well, Rowden's is the whole thing is like if he's not precise, he's gonna like form in a wall and die.
But I feel, I mean, they didn't state it, but I feel like that's the same with this dude. If he didn't know a precise location to
That's
get
probably
to,
true. Yeah.
he could have done the same thing. Still wasted a life and still done the same thing. Been like caught in a wall or something.
It would have been 2 lives.
Yeah, I mean,
You got a whole circle of
Well,
people, so like some of them get
technically
caught
it
in
would've been
walls
more.
and some of them don't. You just lose
Yeah.
like 5 people to walls because you
I mean-
ended up in a really
I mean,
congested
the way
area.
that they're trained, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, all right, we're just gonna keep testing this until somebody gets it right.
Yeah, probably.
You know, and then you just now, all right, remember this exact court, you know, shit, like, okay, you know, and then people just put it to memory. Like, it just feels like that's kind of more of where it was at. Like, I feel like teleportation in general is probably like that. Like, you could
I think-
easily teleport yourself into the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
I think a map with coordinates would just help in general.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like the way he does it later, I was like, I don't understand how that works as well as you would think it does. Like, I feel like putting a longitude and latitude would be much easier, but
And weren't they like on the wall when they did it?
I don't remember. I thought they were on a no.
The
Like, I
monks,
think
the
it's
monks are
teleport to a
not.
dock.
Rauden is later.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
meant Rodden. I meant
Yeah,
Rodden.
Rowden's on a wall. Yeah.
So I'm just like trying to figure out like how the fuck is he gonna do that, like measuring stepwise.
Yeah.
And
First off, he not only did he, we'll get to it. We'll get there.
We'll get to it. We're not there yet.
I'll break down. I'll break down how stupid it is when we get there.
Anyway, so Hrathen then notes that most of the monks had come with them, as it seems Dilaf was fairly certain Erlon was being taken care of, and his new focus was Teod. The monks climb onto a roof, carrying Hrathen and Serene with them, and Dilaf notes that they're early and they'll wait for the hour to be up. We then go back to Galadin's point of view, as he stares down at Kay as the early morning sunlight reveals the death and destruction. He feels stupid for giving in to Rowden's hope. He thinks about how when he had gone to New Elantris, he had seen Maresh with a giant hole in his chest, Tan with his face crushed by a large stone, and Kahar missing an arm and both legs. Galadin had cursed that Rowden had left them for Serene, but still he had hoped and gone to find Rowden. Galadin notes that he'll likely hope until the pool consumes him. Did you have any thoughts about Galadin's relationship with Rowden?
I mean, not like I mean, it's been the same the whole time. To be honest, I definitely from the start thought he was going to betray him, but it doesn't seem like that. And it didn't seem like that from then on. When he was like, "Oh, yep, I made a promise, I'm going to do it." Like, okay, you know, seems like a good friend to me.
Galadin is a good friend. I like Galadon.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you right now, even while reading the book, I was like, I'm just gonna come back. There's no way he dies here. They've put way too much like bullshit already for him. There's no way. He's got plot armor.
What did you
Yeah.
think? Oh, yeah.
Ra-
Darkness.
Rowden not like dying would make like a lot of sense there, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it the way it happened. Like I said, I expected it more of like, you know, Serena gets taken because it's kind of what happened, and somehow he finds that out while in his Hoed form, and he just like becomes an Elantrian.
Like the same way
ball.
they got to that one dude that showed them the pool.
Yeah,
But like, okay, whatever. We'll get into it more because like there's stuff I do want to say about it, but we're not there
Yeah.
yet.
gotcha.
So back to Luco's point of view, as he and his family are deposited into Elantris. He notices a group of Fjordal men building a large pile of furniture and wood. Jala clings to him, refusing to plead for her life, even though she is of Swordish blood, which I find kind of nice. She's like, "Nah, I'm gonna die with my husband. I don't give a shit." She's pretty badass. Luco then notices Shuden doing his Che Shan dance.
Honestly, all the women are fucking badass.
Yeah. So Shuden's doing his little Che Shan dance.
Even if they do get scared later, like I was like,
They tried their
I
best.
swear.
Considering
I was
like they
like,
only just
Jesus
started doing
Yeah,
like
like-
anything like that.
Okay, but if you're gonna die anyway, you might as well go die like fighting.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
I agree with you on that. I feel like, they could have put a little more effort in, I guess, but like I expected him to cower from the start, and then it was like come in later, like get like that upper hand later, like backstab somebody or something.
Mm.
But then like to see them just immediately are like, all right, we are going to fight. I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah. And then immediately after, oh hell no, I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they see the fucking insane shit that they have to fight, and they're like, no, we're good.
Well, no, they see someone die. They see Eshin die, and then they're like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah, we're just gonna sit here. We're good.
But yeah, so then he sees Shuden doing his Cheishan dance and feels determined that he'll fight with Shuden when the time comes. So we then get a Rauden point of view as he floats timelessly, not going near consciousness as he can feel the pain if he gets too close. When he does get close to consciousness a few times, he thinks he sees Galadon, Kreta, and a mountain landscape. And then we're back to Harathan's point of view. Dilaf begins talking.
Pause.
Yep.
That right there, that little POV from Rauden, it ticked me off a little because I knew it was some subconscious floating thing that was happening right there, right? And it just made me so upset because is that how every single HUD is? Like they're just floating there, choosing not to resurface. Like I get
Exactly.
it, hell of a lot of pain, but like if you can like come back, like do it.
Yeah,
like that's what all the
exactly,
like.
That's what I was thinking too. Like the fact that they're going through, like they continue to repeat this one phrase over and over again and stuff, and then like you get this little like POV from Rauden where he's like, basically, I could come back. It's just very painful, and I'm like, girl, boy, your fucking wife is dying. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like you were fighting this whole time, and you're just like, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna chill here, have a little like me time.
Yeah, like you get stabbed once. Come on, man.
And he has the time to process other things, like figuring out how to use, you know what, and instead of processing the fact that he was like, you know what, if I turn HUD, dump me in the pool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, bro, this man needs a fucking reality check. Your wife is dying. And the best part is, because I know later, like, she fights. Like, bitch, you ain't fighting.
I cried during this part of the book the first time I read it.
Yeah, fuck him. Fuck this man. Fuck him.
No.
I cried through, like, all of part 3 when I first read this book.
The universe fucking hands you shit, and you're gonna fucking throw it away like that?
My eyes could fire for this, like, dude right now.
I mean, this book definitely also pisses me off for another reason, the fact that we still don't know what the fuck creates these people.
Oh, the orbs.
Yeah. So many loose ends. Give me some fucking closure, goddamn. 2 books in a row this woman has put us through. Darkness. 2 fucking books in a row. They have these open-ended bullshit.
He needs a book like an Ars Arcanum book for every...
Answer these questions? Yeah, God damn,
gosh.
Man. Who killed Rauden?
No one killed Rauden!
Somebody had to have killed Rauden.
No one killed Rauden! You don't have to die to become an Elantrian. That's a thing you guys made up.
No, it's not.
It is.
Know how I know? How I know? Because they're dead.
They're not dead.
Okay, then how the fuck
Apparently they are.
They're not!
Okay, at least explain to me the potion then.
The potion's... It fakes it.
How does it fake it?
It fakes the Elantrian thing.
But explain how it fakes it though. Like, how do you get a potion that blotches out your skin, makes you lose your hair, basically creates every bit of an Elantrian except the fact that you can't you can actually still get hurt and heal.
And there's no backstory to any of that either. No explanation as to how it was created, why it was created.
The potion stuff, like, if they don't have to find it important to go into the backstory of the potion because we're not looking at the potion maker as like a main character.
But I was though.
But the potion was a big part of the whole story.
Oh, 2 people. The whole 2 people. The hell is going on here? Show me why they're Elandrians.
I've started
the fucking door randomly chooses people.
Okay, all right. First off, I don't believe in random generators. All right, there has to be a reason they are chosen. Now,
as far as we are aware, there is no reason.
Yes, you're right. As far as we're aware, because Sanderson doesn't give us an actual reason, so you have to conclude on shit that doesn't actually fucking matter in general. You don't
like
know. I want to know.
think about it. Even in Warbreaker, there was this hint of like, oh, there's deities, right?
Yeah, deities. Yeah.
Like actual, like above what was perceived as gods
Well,
in that
we're
religion.
gonna get to actually that. There's a part where we're not there yet, but I was gonna say we get to the pool and he hears a voice.
Yes, we hear about a deity of that gave him this thing, but this deity has to choose people. It can't be random. If he chooses people, first off, how are you choosing people, Mister God? Because like some of these people, just I don't understand why they are Elantrians. Like seriously, like some of these people aren't fucking helpful at all. You're gonna just tell me that he just says, you know what? Today I throw a coin in the bucket and this random person becomes Elantrian.
I know things
No.
I can't
And-
tell you.
Of course you do.
Why can't you tell us? We're literally
We're already
done with
finished
it.
with the book.
We'll get into that later. We'll get into that at the end of this episode.
Of course we will. Or we won't, because that's what she said last time, and then we didn't get to fucking know.
I
but
never
waited
said at the
3
end of
fucking
an
days. Yes,
episode
you did.
last time.
You said I'll tell you later, and then you were like, the later is after we finish all of this. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
keep me waiting for 3 whole weeks.
Anyways, let's just continue with this. We're gonna get into some
wait.
stuff at the end of this.
Okay, fine. Let's.
There's a lot of plot holes, darkness. We got this. We'll open them up wide.
Anyways, so where was I? So we're back to Harathon's point of view. Dilaf begins talking, saying he wishes that he just let her die. He goes on to recount how at 50 years old, 20 years ago, as he's now 70, he had met a woman who had thought him the most handsome man even with his twisted, Aeroline body. She had fallen sick, and Dilaf had taken to her Elantris, even though he knew it was blasphemous. It's also briefly mentioned that he had been a Dakor monk for 40 years at that time, meaning he had been 10 at the time he was taken to Dakor. So, like, they're like...
Train them early.
Yeah, they're, like, fucking with these people at, like, 10 years old. They're, like, chanting over them and mutating them at 10. He mentions that...
I think the word you were looking for was mutilate.
Yeah, mutilate. That is the word.
Right.
He mentions that what Dakor does cannot heal people, so they have no healing abilities, apparently.
Of course not.
But he'd heard that Elantrians can heal people. He says that the healing went wrong, but he believes that they did it on purpose because they knew who he was. Dilaf explains that his wife...
I believe that.
He explains that his wife turned into like what the newer Elantrians have been, and that she would cry about the pain until she threw herself off the city wall. And he found her still alive at the bottom of the wall and burned her, but she still screams in his head until Elantris is gone. So were you surprised to learn that Dilaf's wife was the one in that story that they found in the library?
I was definitely thoroughly surprised that she even made a comeback in this story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I thought that was a throw off fucking like
No, if it was important.
about healing. I thought it was important, but I thought it was more of like about the healing. I was like, okay, cool.
So yeah, that explains why Dilaf hates Elantrians so much.
And I agree with
because
him.
of his wife.
I agree with him. Burn them all.
Okay, so here's a couple of things.
Mhm.
I don't remember why there was a lot of confusion around this, but there was when we were discussing it, and I was thinking that mistake right there was like ground zero, right? Like,
Yeah, the catalyst to becoming what they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It definitely seemed like that's how that was coming about when they originally said it, because they were like, basically she had become what is now today and was an Elantrian. So I mean, I was like, maybe that's where it started.
Yeah. Also, I do remember there was talk about how when they were performing the healing, they had like missed a simple mistake or whatever.
Yep.
A simple line that should have caused the Aeon to not work and like fade instead of like doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is like, yeah, that was on purpose. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Okay, I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like both can be true. I feel like they could have actually done so, like not wanted to heal her because of him, because of Dilaf, and because of who he is. And like, obviously, like, why would you heal the person that like of your enemy? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, and the other part being true of like, maybe what really could have happened is they put an inexperienced person there. We're like, oh yeah, this person knows how to do Aeons. We'll throw them in there, and like knowing full well that they're going to fuck up. The higher up Elantrians could have been like, I'm gonna have you do this shit. and you gotta go in there, and we all know you're gonna mess up, but we don't care about that person because of who they're with.
Honestly, yeah, you're right. Because if they knew who he was, right?
I mean, he can't hide who he is. I mean, he did to a lot of people, but like the people who know them, I feel like he really wouldn't be able to hide his heritage.
Yeah, and if they didn't want anything to go wrong with like a person that's their enemy, and like let me just in simpler words put like start drama and shit. They uh they would have gotten someone like who obviously would have been good at it and experienced at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, right, like, okay, so she's going through all this issue. Like, how easy is it to just go back and be like, hey, I think you messed up. Can we figure out how to fix this? You know, and like they could have, if they were really wanting to, they could have try to figure it out. I'm sure with the vast amount of magic that they have, they could have figured out how to heal her properly, even after they messed up.
The pool was a thing then too, right?
Yeah, the pool was a thing then too.
Yeah.
I want to know what it was used for.
Their screw ups.
They said it was based on what I believe Galadin thought, the murals and the guy wanting to go there. They believed that it was used for Elantrian funerals.
Okay.
Couldn't they? I thought they couldn't die. Like they could live forever.
They can live forever, but sometimes they like would choose to be like I'm.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah. So basically, like it's like the death to immortals. Like,
and also, I think they do say like Rowden notes in here as well that like he can be gravely injured, like they're not indestructible. So like.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that part too. I was like, I remember Rowden making a comment about like he's not indestructible, but like immortal. Like you don't have to. You can immortals can die. Like like
it just means
vampires
you don't
immortal.
age to death.
Yeah, exactly. A vampire is immortal, but like it doesn't mean you can't stake them in the heart and they die. Like they still die. Might be a way to do it, but they still do die.
Exactly. So like they're so I think it was used for Elantrian funerals. They seem to imply. I will give you a little heads up. The postscript actually has more to do with the pool.
Woohoo! Hopefully it has more to do with why this god chooses random fucking people.
Could have just dumped that lady in there, bro.
Yeah, could have, honestly. I mean, if they really were caring about her and they didn't, and they honestly messed up and could not fix it.
Yeah.
Probably
well, I think
the best
they
option.
also said that, like, especially I think like Galadin with his dad, like I think he said that a lot of the Elantrians were kind of pompous and full of themselves.
Yes.
So they were like, we didn't make a mistake. This is your issue.
Exactly. But like,
you just swept it under the rug.
Right? They know. There's no way they didn't know they made a mistake. Like, so in my opinion, right? I'm 100% behind Dilaf. Fucking burn them all.
No way he had to burn his own wife. Got the fuck out of him, bro.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I understand the sins of the father and all that shit, but like, I'm sorry, this man has lived a long time and has to deal with his wife screaming in his mind forever.
Yeah, I mean, imagine though, like seeing your wife like try and commit suicide and then finding her still alive at the bottom of the wall,
and then burning her, and you still hear her screaming. Like,
well, I think that's more of a psychological PTSD thing. But...
Yes, but like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
he's got a lot of fucked up PTSD.
I really, like, okay, I liked everything he did until he went with Serene's dad. When he went there,
Tio did nothing
like,
to him.
Yeah, when he went to Serene's dad and was like, all right, like he's like, oh, he tells her father, I'm going to, basically not kill her or whatever, and then, if you listen to my commands, and then while he's there, he's telling Serene that he is going to either murder him in front of her or the other way around. And I'm like, bro.
Well, because he's pissed off because Serene likes the Elantrians.
Yes. Well, but like, of course he likes the Elantrians. Her fucking husband's an Elantrian.
Right? It's like your wife got killed by the Elantrians, but her husband is an Elantrian. Obviously, you guys are going to have different points of view here.
You have to understand that. And like I said, I understand the whole let's, burn Elantris down kind of idea and doing it and taking these two places out that create them. I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. But like, it's just, there's ways to do this. You don't have to be this blatantly vindictive. You could fucking start wars like the fucking Call people did. Live in the fucking shadows and have the two of them fight each other and murder each other. And then murder them at the end.
Yeah, there was already a servant uprising or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That happened before. Just do it again.
what the fuck? Like, this man could have done a lot of things.
Well, I think they
He
also
chose.
say, I think it's Harath or Dilaf or someone says somewhere as well that like this was also a way for like Wern to show the other countries under their control that they have like tentative grips over, like we're strong and we will fuck you up if like you try and betray us.
I don't think, honestly,
It would have
I
sent
think
the
that's their
same
pride
message.
talking. I don't think anybody thinks that they're not strong. Because I feel like all of the people who just swung swords at these people who did not get hurt would probably be scared of those motherfuckers. When
I
one
feel
of these guys can fight an army,
Yeah, I feel like regardless of what like approach they have, as long as the end result is either them like dominating that like area and like converting them, it would have been like the same message.
Hmm.
I mean, I can definitely say that Harathan, right? That's the other priest's name. I can definitely say Harathan's like whole, oh, I'll just convert everybody and the world will have peace somehow. Fucking doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, I'm sorry, you can tell me that you convert the two kings of each of these nations, but like that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be these little religious sects somewhere in the fucking thing
Yeah.
that
Well,
are
he
hidden
he
in.
had the long-term plans. He was gonna try and slowly convert them generation by generation, kind of thing. Like he's like, oh, the current generations might not believe, but their children will grow up in the Derethi churches and schools.
But I mean, like I mean, the Americans of here, okay, we kind of grow up in a semi-Catholic fucking schooling system. Uh, I mean, it's got very watered down recently, but like over years. But like, it started that way. There were still other religions. I mean,
Hmm.
I feel like that it doesn't really change. Like, I feel like he's not looking big enough of a picture. I think
Mm.
Dilaf definitely looked at a much huger picture. Like, we annihilate them. This is over. This is done. I mean,
Right.
because they both had their issues with Elantris.
Yeah.
At least the way they say they do.
So, anyways, we then get a brief Galadon point of view as he and Crowder rest next to the pool for a moment, before going back to Lukel's point of view as he watches the soldiers pile bodies of Elantrians next to the pile of wood until it was larger than the pile of wood was.
Love
Uh,
that part. Just the imagery.
yeah, and then Adian says that it's 27 steps to the bodies before walking forward. The soldier slashes Adian in the chest, but no blood came out. He flops over onto the pile of bodies, joining his people after 5 years of hiding.
The
Uh,
moment, the moment that happened, I was like, it makes so much sense.
right? The
I was
reveal.
like, how did this man go ages without being noticed? How? Okay, you put on a little bit of makeup. I was like,
Well, I
oh
think
my
he's
god, how
never
easily.
basically left the house. Kin's home.
Oh my god, man. I was like, this man is intelligent.
Yeah, but yeah, because like
Like, yeah.
Kin and Lukel like Serenity notes like I think a few times like how do they know so much about Elantrians? I was like because they live
Yeah.
with one. Because they're like, oh yeah, they don't actually need to eat type thing, and she's like, how do they know that?
Yep. Made a lot, everything just kind of put together. I was like, Jesus. He's not the one that is like constantly making comments, was he?
He's the one who always counts things. He's the one who's always like he's only been in a few scenes. Normally when they're
Yeah,
actually home having
he's the one
meals.
late he's the one later that tells Rowden the steps to get to a
Yes.
fucking place. Yeah. But like but he's not the one that was like correcting Siri on everything, was he?
No,
No, that
The
was
one we
that
hated in
was
the
the
beginning?
girl. That was the girl.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was gonna say there was one
That was
child that I
that was
remember like
Kaise.
was
No,
like okay.
Adian's only comments have been like to Serene. I think have been like, oh, she mentions the place, and he's like X number of steps.
Yeah.
So.
I do like that he kind of kept that going from the start to the end though. But
Hmm.
like it just like I said, it was a crux that I don't like because Rowden just gets handed everything.
But yeah. So Darkness, how did you feel about the whole Adian reveal?
well when he got slashed, I was like, oh, I know what he is, you know. And when he just like went and just laid down, I was like in shock because I was like, damn.
I expected him to fight for sure, yeah.
Nope. He's just like, I'm gonna be with my people now.
I found that kind of like
I mean, the imagery later the imagery later, I was like, oh shit. We'll get to it, but like, oh shit.
So we then go back to Harathan's point of view as Dilaf reveals that he had been at Dakor when Harathan was first brought there. Dilaf said he had already become Gragda by then, and Harathan remembers him. He says that Dilaf had used a monk to transport himself a distance he could have walked in 15 minutes, which is what convinced him to leave Dakor. Dielef replies that occasional tests of obedience are required before he notices the ships coming in. Dielef states that this last task is the death of Aventio. So we then go back to Rowden's point of view, and a vision springs to his mind of Aeon Rau, a large square surrounded with 4 circles and lines leading from the circles to the squares. In his head, he sees Elantris, its square walls, and the 4 circular cities around it, with the roads leading to Elantris. He then makes a realization. So did you realize what Rowden had realized here?
Yep.
Nope, never.
No?
No, I mean, I did. I was making a joke.
Oh.
But, like, just like I said, it's ridiculous.
It's a giant Aeon.
I do find it funny. Yeah, I do find it funny because, like, then all I can picture in my head was after this, him just, like, him being in this pool, and, like, the 2 of these people who are just sitting there are like, all right, well, he's dead, you know, he disintegrated or whatever, and he died. And
he's
then
not in the pool yet.
I said I'm picturing, okay?
Oh.
Like, it's because we don't really know
this pool, and then him just running out of the pool.
Yeah. I picture it's because the thing is, Midnight, at this point, we don't know if he's been dunked in yet.
Yeah.
We know he's being taken there. We know he's, like, they're in the room and shit. We don't know if, like, this is, like, the moment after they dunk him in or before.
Yeah.
Well, they had said in the previous old Galadon one that they were resting before putting him in the pool.
Yeah, but
like, we don't know how much time passed before this POV changed.
Yeah. But, like, my picture was, like, the 2 of them, and it's, like, one of those, like, you know, stupid, like, it's a picture, not a actual thing, but, like, of the 2 of them, they just finished, you know, putting Rowden in this pool, and they're just sitting there having a smoke break before they go out to either kill themselves or go fight. You know, they're like, all right, well, last time on Earth, let's just fucking sit here and relax for a minute before we kill ourselves. And then out of nowhere, this Rowden runs out of the fucking pool. I have the answer. I'm like, oh my god.
I was thinking he would, like, be disintegrating and flailing in the pool, shouting. He would be looking at Galadon, and he would be like, "This is the answer. Go, hurry!" You know.
Go.
Yeah, like,
I'm
gonna die, but I'm gonna die, Galadon. But you can do it.
Galadon, who's terrible with Aeons. He'll get put in the right place.
In my head, I was like, "Oh no, he's gonna leave it to the one that can't do Aeons correctly," you know.
So we then
he
go
can
back.
do them well enough. We'll see as we see later.
Well, he's commanding. I don't know if he actually does his properly. They don't say.
I mean, he gets there.
Yeah. So we go back to Luco's point of view for a moment as he watches the soldiers pour oil onto the bodies of the Elantrians. The 3 Dakor monks that were left behind in Erelon are chanting some strange language that wasn't Fjordell. And we then go back to Hrathen's point of view as he and Dilef's group walk towards Aventio and his honor guard. Hrathen feels sick because he wanted to save these people, not slaughter them. Dilef holds Serene by the neck, her mouth gagged, and he holds a knife to her back that Aventio can't see. Dilef is whispering in her ear that she is the reason people don't hate the Elantrians, and that he'll kill her in front of Aventio before killing Aventio as well. And then we get Rowden's point of view as he's...
And this is where I was like, fuck you. I hate your plan now. Stupid plan. Don't kill her. Kill him. I don't give a fuck. Leave her alive, because you told him you would do so.
So we then get Rowden's point of view as he struggles towards consciousness, fighting the pain. As he struggles against the pain, he sees the pool that he's being dragged towards. And we quickly move to Galen's point of view as he's surprised by Rowden, as Rowden begins screaming and twitching. Rowden then stumbles forward and falls directly into the pool, which fucking good job, dude.
Yeah.
So at this point, did you think Rowden was completely done for? As he, like, falls
into the pool? I
was
disintegrating on the moment he fucking touched that shit.
I mean, I definitely thought it was going to be like some bullshit where he fell in the pool, he, like, literally disintegrates and then re-materializes as a pure Elantrian or something. I was like, this man just sacrificed himself to become an actual Elantrian. And my other thought was going to be that, like, he was going to fall in this pool, disintegrate, and then see, like, all of the Elantrians who have ever disintegrated or whatever, and, like, bring them as an army.
Oh, damn, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I was like, that'd be an awesome fucking thing. All the people who have died before.
So we get chapter 61 now, a new Aeon, Aeon
Wait,
Sao.
1 second, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Darkness. I have a theory for you. Because we've already read the whole book. But I still have a theory. What if the people who die, like, that were the funerals or whatever they had before, those are what the Aeons are?
The seance,
The
you mean?
seance.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes. Sorry.
That's what I've been saying for
Yeah,
like.
Darkness has said that for a while.
I know. What if? What if Rowden didn't appear as a Rowden? He appeared as a Seance.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, what if he and like what if he just came back as a Seon? Imagine the little Rowden and Sal and Seon together.
Right?
It's like,
So we then
Oh, I forgot he was in that pool too, wasn't he?
Yeah, Salin went into the pool.
Yeah, I forgot
No,
all about that guy. He wasn't
wait.
even important.
Imagine he went into the pool, right? And it's this theory that you had where he saw all the other like Elantris and shit.
And there he is.
First one he sees.
Yeah.
I would cry. I would cry.
I mean, I wish that was actual though. Like he would have seen him at least once.
You know what the saddest part is? If they had left Sauron as a Hoed, he would have been alive still.
Yep. Technically, if they just kind of figured this out earlier, none of this would happen in the first place. But sure.
I'm starting to like Midnight less and less. The more,
I know, right?
the more she speaks, why?
Anyways, chapter 61, we get Aeon Sao, meaning intelligence and learning. So we start chapter 61 with Harathan's point of view as he watches Dilaf put the dagger to Serene's throat, and Aventio's eyes go wide in horror. Harathan suddenly shouts no and punches Dilaf in the face. Dilaf retaliates by trying to stab Harathan, but we learn that Harathan's armor is not just for show. He smacks Dilaf in the face again and tells Aventio to launch his ships as the Fjordal army comes to massacre his people. He also tells Aventio that he will keep Serene safe and to focus on his kingdom. He had like a little
new wife safe.
Yeah, he also had a little funny line there, like, nothing I do is for show.
I mean, everything he does for show, but okay.
So were you surprised that Harathan switched sides like that, and that his armor wasn't just for show?
I mean, both know he's wearing armor.
I was assured like that it was not for show when he was like the one day that I don't bring my armor.
Right.
That one
I was for sure it wasn't for show when this man literally matrixed away from a weapon and then kicked it out of the dude's hand, grabbed it out of the air, and was like, nah, man, I could have killed you right now. But nah, I'm just going to drop it on the ground. Nah, I was like, this man is legit. Straight legit. This man's a ninja. And the fact that he wears armor is probably not for show. Nah. This man, I mean, I don't know about the whole I don't do anything for show. I don't know about that part. But, because, I mean, you definitely turned into an Elantrian for show.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on, man. You do things for show.
Can I send just the Ars Arcanum for all the Aeons?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, picture the Ars Arcanum. So yeah, so then we get a brief Rowden point of view as the pool of water calls to him, saying he can finally give up, but Rowden refuses. Do you think this voice was real or just a feeling Rowden had?
Sorry, I'm looking at symbols.
Well, Darkness, do you want to go first then?
Personally, I felt like it was more just a voice he had.
You think it was just like something in his head? You didn't think it was a real voice?
Because if that's an actual deity, that's a fucking useless ass deity watching their people
Agree.
die like that.
So you think Mythic as well, that it was just like his imagination?
No, I think it's a deity, but I just think it's a fucking useless ass deity. Oh my god. I should have had you describe Rio for me.
Oh god, not Rio.
Rio de Janeiro.
Rio's the best one.
Rio is the worst thing ever.
Okay, wait. So the Seance, right? Don't they have the symbol like in the center of them or something?
Yeah.
Wait, I feel
God
like I'm missing.
Damn. Whoever has Rio as a symbol inside their Seance. Damn.
We move to Luco's point of view as he watches Shuden continue his Chase Shan dance. At first he wonders if Shuden will even do anything, but then suddenly Shuden moves and he cracks one of the priests in the chest before smacking his head so hard it spins around and breaks the monk's neck. Which, goddamn, that's badass. And this is all done with his eyes closed. Luco thinks he sees a faint glow around Shuden. So, what did you think about the fact that Shuden was glowing and able to break the bones? Is he?
This man is an Elantrian.
Is he?
No, but I don't know. But that's what I thought.
I kind of want. Oh, sorry. I'm just like, if it is him channeling like the fucking Andor energy or whatever, I you know what? I don't think it's exactly that. I think it's like a different variation. You know how there's like there's the priests that are attacking, right?
Mm.
And then there's the Elantrians. I feel like this is like some other type of shit like that.
Yeah. So I think there was a point somewhere where I was going to get into it a little bit more, but...
Alright, so off topic. What the fuck? How did this man come up with these fucking symbols?
I want the Sao one as a tattoo.
You want which one as
What
a
the
tattoo?
The Sao one.
SAO? Yeah.
For Saolin.
Yeah,
SAO.
it looks cool and the meaning's
It
nice.
does look pretty. It does look
Intelligence
pretty
and learning, yeah.
But like, just the like. I mean, I asked the same question about Gerald Token, his fucking his Elvish, but like this man, like, did you just like draw random symbols and go, okay, I'm gonna name this one this, and
Well, he starts with the base of Erelon, remember? All of them start with the same base.
What was Erelon?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
They all start with the Aeon. So you see on the first page the Aeon symbol. All of them have that symbol somewhere in them. The straight line at the top, the curvy line down, and the dot in the center. All of them have that.
I guess I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shuden fucking breaks the neck of this one guy, and then Lukel grabs a table leg and smacks a soldier with it.
Like a badass.
Yeah. Smacks a soldier with it and then takes the soldier's sword. Unfortunately, he doesn't know how to use a sword because fucking Idon was like, no one needs to know how to use a fucking sword. So we then go to Harathan's point of view as he fights off the Dakor monks. Although not enhanced like them, he is skilled enough to slice between their twisted bones to get at their organs. Unfortunately, they're enough to keep him backing up and on the defensive. Serenity pulls off her gag and leads Harathan to a building as they hear the honor guard joining in the assault. And then we're back at Rowden's point of view as he emerges from the pool of something that is thicker than water. He notes that the pool can't dissolve him unless he wants it to. He tells Karada and Galdan to come as he stumbles to his feet. So what do you think the pool is, since it's not water?
The dying juice of all the Elantrans.
The dying juice?
Oh no.
What do you think
It's
it
all
is?
saliva.
Saliva! Blue
That's not the
saliva?
Honestly, that's not the juice I was thinking of, but sure.
Because I mean, it's like dissolving them, right? it's godly saliva.
It's stomach acid. So we go back to Lukel's point of view as he and Shuden try to fight. The only other ones who try to help are the women Serenity taught defense. And they all grab table legs as well. Suddenly, though, Shuden is hit in the arm and falls, and then Eshin is stabbed through the chest. The other women stop fighting as they see Eshin fall, and then Lukel gets stabbed in the leg. So although it wasn't completely effective, were you happy to see that like all the fencing stuff Serenity was doing with the women kind of came up during this final
Called it, but yeah.
stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they stepped up.
When all of the other townspeople were like just standing there doing nothing.
Hopefully they see that women actually have value now,
Right?
Sometimes.
So then briefly we're back to Rowden.
Not when they're a host of a podcast, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see how it is. Briefly we were back with Rowden as he rushes down the mountain with Galdan trying his best to keep up. And we then go to Serene's point of view as she and Harathan hide in a cellar under a home with a terrified family. After hearing a Dakor monk wander through the house, Serene and Harathan leave with Serene telling the family to keep hiding there. Harathan then takes off his armor as it's too distinctive, as well as the padding, until he's just in a pair of simple trousers and a wrap around his right arm. So do you think it was a good idea for Harathan to ditch the armor?
No.
What the fuck is that, Darkness?
Don't worry about it. I'll try to see if I can send like the whole image. But yeah, it was dumb.
Serene asks why he had switched sides, and Harathan says Dilaf is evil and that Jadith wants devotion, not a massacre. Haran says that is what Warren wants, and Harathan doesn't respond. We then go back to Rowden's point of view briefly as he continues to run, thinking that if he stops, the pain will consume him again. And then we're back with Lukel as Jala binds his wounds, even though Lukel knows that they'll be killed soon. He sees the Elantrians get set on fire, and then the soldiers begin to approach the townspeople. Then we're back at Galdan's point of view as he and Karada run after Rowden, not knowing what he is doing. Galdan sees Rowden pick up a stick and begin dragging it along the ground. Karada then notices some guards coming, and Galdan states that they need to make sure Rowden does whatever he needs to do. And we go back to Rowden's point of view as he just barely notices Galdan and Karada throwing themselves unarmed at soldiers. He continues to drag the stick even as a soldier tries to grab him. He sees Karada get beheaded and Galdan take 2 swords to the stomach. Rowden finishes the line and light bursts from it like a silver river. The door washes over him, essential purity and power refined, and for once Rowden doesn't feel pain. The light continues, lighting up the walls of Elantris and the roads to the outer cities, and the walls of the outer cities until Aeon Rao is complete. The spirit of Elantris. So is this what you had expected for the title of Part 3 to mean?
No, I thought it meant him in general, but...
I don't like him anymore.
Who, Rowden?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I didn't like him from the start, so...
But yeah, that's why the initial title of the book, instead of just being Elantris, was supposed to be the spirit of Elantris, because literally Elantris is the spirit of, like, the spirit Aeon of Aeon Door. Where was I? So
Or
Rauden finishes right, so he doesn't feel any pain, the spirit of Elantris. We then go back to Rauden's point of view as he becomes a true Elantrian. His skin becomes silvery and his hair growing long and white, and his heart begins beating. He sees Galden rise as well, his skin a darker silver. The terrified soldiers run off as Rauden tells them they have an hour to leave. We then move to Lukel's point of view as he watches Elantris erupt with light and the Elantrians come out of the fire. The two Dakor monks howl with denial and one races at the Elantrians but is killed by a burst of energy. Lukel turns to see Rauden. The last Dakor monk raises its weapon, but Rauden draws an Aeon for power and the monk lowers its weapon. Rauden tells it to board its ship and take its men. As Rauden declares Elantris restored, Lukel states it was totally unexpected before fainting of blood loss. And we end the chapter with Dilaf's point of view. He and his monks had killed Eventio's honor guard and had lost Eventio, Serene, and Harathan somehow. The voice of his dead wife rings in his ears for revenge as he shouts to find them. And then we get chapter 62, which has the Aeon Rio, meaning punishment and retribution. And we start this chapter with Serene's point of view as she and Harathan make their way towards the docks. Harathan suggests getting on a merchant ship, and when Serene says she won't leave, he states that Dilaf may leave to go after her if she does leave Teod. Serene then asks Harathan about his faith again, and he states that he thought he had faith, and his issue is more with Wyrn than with God. We then move to Harathan's point of view as he's a bit embarrassed to have spoken openly to Serene. He thinks on his faith and feels guilt for what happened in Duladel as he had previously thought it necessary, but now does not. He does feel now that if he died, he could face Jadaz with courage and pride. Then he feels a pain in his chest and sees Fjorn in the crowd. If you don't remember, Fjorn is apparently the guy who was head priest of the Durethi Church in Kay that he sent off way back when, which they kind of explain. Serene looks worried as Harathan slumps against the side of a building, and he thinks that she'll never know that he grew to love her. What do you think about the fact that Harathan fell in love with her?
What do you think about what?
why
The fact that
he
Harathan fell in love with Serene.
Because he's
Oh
a
no,
fucking
but it
dumbass.
pissed me the fuck off.
No, back off
That-
with Rauden's girl.
That made me so upset because like it made me feel like he was grasping at something to feel like good about himself before dying. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to find that one like new thing to hold on to, and I just like I don't know. It made me feel really uncomfortable. Like there was no sort of build up, no like sort of.
There was
hint.
definitely build up. If you knew it was coming, I saw so much build up to it.
No. Mm-mm.
He's constantly like, why do I enjoy
If he-
fighting with her so much? Oh, why am I jealous of Rauden? Why am I like worried about this and that? And he's like always like focused on her, like
That's the
constant.
same concept as disliking someone, though. You can literally be like the same way if, like, oh, he ended up killing her regardless.
No, because he keeps mentioning how like, oh, she got me this time, and oh, it's a game, and oh, like, oh, I got her, she got me, and like blah blah blah. Like he definitely likes her throughout the
Yeah.
whole book.
Mm-mm.
So we then go back to Serene's point of view as she tries to stop the blood. She then notices she's become the center of attention and sees Dakor monks coming towards her, one with a bloody nose. Briefly, we get a Fjorm POV, which is really random. He had been told that if he stabbed Harathan with a knife, he would be accepted into the Wrathbore Monastery. He isn't sure how Wyrn knew Harathan would be here, but doesn't question it. He then goes back to his inn and orders breakfast. I found that little part funny. We then go to Rauden's point of view as he heals Lukel's leg, brushing him off when he says to leave him to die. Once it's healed, Lukel complains that Rauden could have at least left a scar for him to show his grandchildren one day.
I love that. Oh, such a good idea. Like, god damn, man, you could have at least left me a scar.
We then go to Rauden. Rauden then worries that he hasn't been able to find Serene, Harathan, or Dilaf, even though they've saved Kay and Elantris from the Durethi priests. Galadin wanders over to him, about to report what about the Hoed that are now conscious and disoriented, but then Ash shows up and interrupts them. Ash explains that Serene is in Teod, which is being attacked, and I think Rauden has like, how the fuck did she get there?
Yep.
And so we briefly get to Serene's point of view as Dilaf and his monks back her into a corner. Serene thinks that Dilaf is the most terrifying thing she would ever see. And then we go back to Rauden's point of view as he climbs to the top of the walls of Elantris. Galadin hurries up after him, and Rauden has Ash show him the direction to Teod and begins drawing Aeon Tia, which Galadin recognizes and tell him he has no idea how far it even would be and that he would get killed transporting without that knowledge. Edion then shows up, telling Rauden how many footsteps there are to Teod. Ash, looking through a Seon called Mia, is highly concerned as he sees Serene surrounded. Rauden quickly measures Aedian's stride and then finishes his Aeon and tells Galadon he's in charge. So yeah, were you expecting Aedian's little counting and footsteps thing to have been important?
I don't understand why. Okay, so I feel like that like is really important, obviously.
Mhm.
And I did have like a feeling, oh, that's gonna come into play eventually, because like there's no way it's gonna be there for a reason and keep bringing it up regardless of like who he is, right?
Mhm.
And I don't understand like how he
How
can
this
like
man knows.
yeah how
Yeah, like has this? It was so confusing to me because like I was like, all right, first off, how do you know how many steps it takes to get from one side to the other unless you walked it and counted them? And how many times have you been to this place?
He says he's been there once.
And
Yeah,
he
but what if
just
what if he
remembered how
miscounted?
much he walked?
Yeah, what if he
That's a
miscounted?
lot of walking.
Well, first of all, he had to go over the ocean.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. How do you know the steps?
Also, we also got to think about the elevation. They're on the wall, right?
Yeah.
The elevation.
Would he teleport right in the like exactly? I had that same thought. He teleport in the air and then fall.
Yeah. Like,
Calculate for a slight angle.
oh my god.
How do you calculate that in steps?
Yeah, and then he's gonna be like fucking like his like knees into the fucking ground.
It is so absolutely ludicrous.
And not even the fact that we don't even know if like how high like or how low it is compared to like where they are. Like the you would assume.
Well, considering
So
he's
many
going to the
things in
docks, it
general.
should be he needs to go to sea level, and he's up on these gigantic walls that like, I mean, if you look at the cover of Elantris, like the walls are fucking supposed to be gigantic. They're super high up.
I mean, like it made more sense that what's the Sion's name? Ash, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that Ash could be like a calculator and be like, oh, that's in steps, that's this many miles. But it doesn't make sense how this kid could know how many steps it was across oceans, like a whole ocean. What are you walking on the boat? Like what the?
Oh my
hell,
god,
man?
it's Jesus.
Oh my god, I know. Like it makes no sense.
It's Jesus.
It would have made so much more sense for him to just have known what it was in miles or whatever.
Or like whatever calculating
yeah,
they
like,
have.
It doesn't make sense that he knows how far in steps it is to go over water. Like it just doesn't. And
Not only that, but their steps are definitely different. So
Well, that's why he measured his stride.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he measures his stride. Yeah, I remember that part in the book. But it still doesn't make sense on how he knows how many steps it takes to get to a specific place that he's been to once, like on a boat.
I don't know, dude.
Sanderson, give me some fucking context here, please. If I ever go get a book signed by this man, I'm gonna have a list of questions.
So we move back to.
Is he gonna be at the convention?
Oh yeah, he's always at the convention signing things.
I'm going to ask him these questions. I'm gonna write a list now.
So we move back to Serenity's point of view as her back hits a brick wall. Just as she thought she was done for, Rauden appears and knocks the monks away. Rauden hits Stilaf with a burst of light, and he is able to stand afterwards. Rauden then tries to transport them using Aeon Tia, but after it doesn't work, he remembers that the Aeons get weaker the farther they are from Elantris. So we go back to Rauden's point of view as he tries to figure out a way to escape. He briefly notices Aventio on the docks, but he's too far to yell for him, and Aventio doesn't see them. Stilaf and his monks then approach them, and suddenly more come from the alleyways, a group of all 50 of them now. And so back to Serenity's point of view, she watches as Rauden draws his Aeon, but can tell he's too slow to be able to finish before the monks get to them. Suddenly the docks shake with a powerful force, and Galadon, along with hundreds of Elantrians, appear behind them. Galadon shouts for them to draw Aeon Da, and only about half of them finish, but it's enough to send a powerful wave at the monks. So what do you think about Galadon and all the Elantrians like showing up and like blasting the monks? Like I always picture this so cinematically. I love it.
So have you seen the second part of Endgame, Avengers Endgame?
I think so, yes.
Big spoiler for anybody that listens to the podcast and hasn't seen that. But where they all walk through the portals at the end.
Yeah.
That's how I see that happening. Literally, these people just and they're just here kind of idea. Like that's how that cinematically looked in my head. Also, what was the Aeon for the air thing?
Aeon Da, I believe he tells them to use.
DAO?
DAA, I believe it is.
Isn't that like fucking immobilization or whatever it's called? I don't even know.
I'm just looking for it.
It's the power Aeon, the one
I
that
got it. Yeah, I see it. I
Rowden
see it.
uses earlier.
Oh
Also,
no, the
also on that topic,
immovable
when he adds modifiers to this thing, right?
Mhm.
Are they just more of these Aeons?
So I think the modifiers are like extra dots and lines. Like you can make these like so complicated. They're like basically he says it's impossible to tell what the original Aeon was sometimes. So we then switch to Dilaf's point of view as he ducks to avoid the Elantrian magic while all the other monks are too confident to do so. Apparently, he's also the only monk to have the enchantment to resist door attacks, which has taken a sacrifice of 50 men. And he sees the monks fighting and wishes to die fighting with them, but instead goes after Aventio. And we go back to Serene's point of view as she notices Dilaf running in the direction of that her father went. Rowden runs off ahead, leaving Serene behind as he's faster. Once in the alleyway, Dilaf surprises him, cracking some of Rowden's ribs. He also slices through Rowden's arm, causing white-silver blood to come out. He rolls away as Dilaf goes for his...
Blood.
He rolls away as
That's what it
Dilaf goes
is.
for his heart, and he notes the Lanterns are not immortal. So what'd you say?
What if that's what it is? The juices mythic was right.
Yeah, I'll
Well, it's
get back to
supposedly
pool.
blue, the pool, so...
You never know how much put into it is. Like, what if it was originally like the blood and the blood color, and then like the amount of people that just got dunked in there just turned to, you know?
So Rowden then creates a wall of light, but Dilaf is able to negate it like he had with Rowden's illusion previously. Dilaf then injures Rowden's hand to make him unable to draw Aeons. Dilaf then says the Skaves were right, that Elantrians are not indestructible. Do you have any ideas what the Skaves are?
No. I need to see the spelling for that.
Skaze.
Did you say Zed? Did you say Zed?
Yes, we say Zed in Canada, just like the British. Only Americans don't say Zed.
No, I don't know. That's a lie. That's a fucking lie.
Only Americans don't say Zed.
What about people that don't speak English?
For English, when you say the letters for English, anyways. Serene then arrives and begins fighting Dilaf with a sword she found. However, Dilaf's enhancements make him stronger, and eventually he takes the upper hand until he pierces her shoulder. As she slumps down, Harathan somehow shows up. Dilaf attacks Harathan, but Harathan stops the blade with his covered arm, revealing twisted bones underneath. So had you been expecting Harathan to have some fucked up Dakor bone arm?
You know, I kind of did expect him to be, because I mean, I had a like even before we knew, I had a feeling that he was part of that church, that fucking. Well, is it a church? I don't even know. That training place or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well,
The
we
one
knew
that
he had gone to Dakor for like a month or two, and then he left.
Yeah, but that's after. But I meant like before. I had a feeling when we found out what each one of them did, because you had asked stuff about it.
I think I asked you what you guys thought it did at that place because we knew what the other three did, but not what Dakor did. Because Harathan's been constantly saying like talking about Dakor, and I think Aventio talks about Dakor, and like we didn't know much about it.
But you also, I'm pretty sure, asked us which one you think he's from.
Oh, I might have. Yeah, I think he went to a different one afterwards, though. I think he goes to
Yeah.
whatever
But
the generic one is.
I had originally said that he went to that one, and I'm kind of like happy that I wasn't completely wrong. You know.
What do you think, Mythic?
So I figured he did have some like modifications.
I already told you out of this podcast, but I was not I was not surprised. I was like, that's cool, but I kind of had a feeling when they were like hinting at, oh, his arm is wrapped up, and I'm like, this man's gonna have like some ridiculous prosthetic or like something about this. It's just gonna be like a super powerful arm. Like any anime would tell you that. Like, god damn.
So Harathan then grabs Dilaf by the neck and lifts him into the air, his arm glowing. Dilaf tries to slice at Harathan's arm with no damage and instead slashes at his side, but Harathan doesn't even grunt. Dilaf squirms as Harathan continues to hold firm on his neck until it snaps. Harathan then tosses Dilaf's body aside, his arm no longer glowing, and topples over, lifeless. Galdan then arrives, and with instructions from Rowden, is able to heal Rowden's wounds. Rowden then heals Serene, who had checked on Harathan. Galdan notes that Aventio was searching for Serene. He also notes that they had checked with Ash before transferring themselves like Rowden had, since they weren't Kayanas like him. Serene then states that they need to explain everything to her. And then we get chapter 63, technically the final chapter before the epilogue. And we get the Aeon Tio, meaning royal and majestic, for this final chapter. We start the chapter with Serene's point of view as she straightened Rowden's golden suit, because apparently white does not look good on him with all his like white stuff. all his white skin and silvery skin and white hair. Sorry. So he asks if she should be praying, and she states that she won't let him out of her sight because her husbands keep disappearing. Ian then floats in and says it's time for their wedding. So Ian's apparently all better now. The Karathi ceremonies are long, so Rowden's mind wanders as Father Omen speaks. He and Galadon had gotten a bone from one of the Dakor monks and noticed Fjordal characters in the ivory, meaning that they had a version of Aeon Dor. Rowden then thinks that he is happy to have Ian back, although the Seance seems more thoughtful than before and doesn't seem to remember his time of madness. He also thinks about all the friends he lost along the way. Rowden also notes that he wants to talk to the other Elantrians to see if he can learn more about the Seance. He isn't even sure if Aeon Dor created them. So do you think Aeon Dor created the Seance?
I mean, I'm on the same theory that Darkness had originally, so that they're not created by Aeon Dor, but they're created by the deaths of Elantrians.
What about you, Darkness? You're still on that same thing?
Yeah, I mean that all that energy that Elantrians have has to go somewhere.
Matter cannot be destroyed.
It can only be vanished. No, I'm joking.
Rowden also thinks of Shuden's chase Shandance and notes that it seems like there must be many ways to access the door. What are your thoughts on all these different ways to access the door?
The doorknob is the best one.
So this isn't a spoiler, but you kind of also learn this in the short story called Emperor's Soul, which is based on the same planet as Elantris, which we'll get to during Arcanum Unbounded. But basically, magic on this planet, on Cell, is geography based. So every region of the planet has a different way to access the same pool of magic.
Okay. And that's one of them.
So
yeah.
Erelon and Teod have the Aeon Dor. Fjordal has their Dakor monks. What is it called again? What the fuck is the place Shuden's from called again? It starts with a J and I can't remember what it's called. Jindo. Jindo has the Chase Shandance. And then Emperor's Soul has a couple different forms of magic from other areas that aren't in this book. So there's a whole bunch of different types of magic that all access technically from the same pool, but they're all based on where you were born. So you can only access that type of magic if you are of a specific race. So that's why people outside of Erelon and Teod cannot become Elantrians.
So, but I mean, then Elantrians are the most how do I say it?
Elantrians,
flexible?
So not necessarily. Elantrians basically superpowered themselves by creating their city Elantris, and they're superpowered. They basically created this giant draw for the magic by creating their giant city Aeon. And that's why they're so powerful compared to other places. They normally should be like how Rowden was before he fixed the city's chasm line.
Gotcha. So really, they just went back to what they were supposed to be.
Yes.
They're unnatural.
So the Elantrians, basically, I don't think we have any information about how or anything, but as far as I can tell, based on all the information I have, is that, they basically way, way, way long ago created this city, which basically superpowered them, as long as they stayed near it. So which is why also, if you get farther away from Erelon, their powers wane, but it's not. Their powers go back to normal. So the power he has in Teod is his normal Elantrian magic, because he's not near Elantris. Just that's why Shuden can use the Chase Shan and the Dakor monks can use their magic in Erelon, because they're just using their normal power levels.
So if they went back and fought the priests from where they came from, would the priests have a bigger boost in power?
If they have something similar to Elantris. I don't know if they have something similar to Elantris.
I feel like they probably don't.
Because the thing is, their whole magic is based on their bones, so I think they'd have to create a giant skeleton or something? I have no idea.
A bone throne.
Wait. If it's on their bones, right?
Yeah.
What if they just murdered a bunch of their people and then just took their bones and lined them up?
I have no idea.
What if they murdered their victims? Oh, wait.
Well, no. It's on their bones, so...
But you'll learn some more...
That does kind of confuse me, though. So... Does that mean then that anybody from the places that can become that the shroud
Shroud?
Shit that takes them, whatever it is, that takes them, So that anybody who could possibly have that can also use the Aeons then?
So no. So what happens is with the magic in Erlen on Teod, which is the Aeons, the Shoud randomly takes someone and then they're able to use Aeons. In Dakor, you have to do these weird special chanting rituals to be able
So
to
the
use
Shout
their
is not
magic, which mutilates and transforms their bodies.
But no, that's what I'm saying. So okay, but they're all relatively the same idea though.
I feel like
Yes.
they're different.
So
Like if we're talking about,
so if we go on the top, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Darkness. I'll go down my line in a minute.
it's because I'm processing too as well. I was thinking like, so if like we're talking about different forms of magic and like different forms of like like the center is like the same like magic, but like
It's
they're
all
different
the
like gateways.
door. It's just comes from different. It's just it manifests itself in different ways in different
Yeah, but like
places.
So
if we're talking about like this in like a deity aspect, would that mean that like the Elantris are chosen by one deity and the rest are different?
or is it the same deity and like they're all playing off of one power but like doing it in different ways? Because what I was gonna say was like maybe it's not random. I mean, like I don't know if there's a book that tells you any more information on why they turn, but maybe it's not actually random and like maybe they do something in life to be chosen for it because Rowden was fighting against his dad and like all the bad shit his dad was doing. Maybe he was chosen. Maybe he stumbled upon how to become Elantrian, like true Elantrian, and then he was changed, kind of like anybody else who has ever had that same thing. Like maybe there's an epiphany moment, kind of like how they chant and their bones are mutilated. Maybe he did something without knowing it. They're all doing something very specific that puts them, like pretty much changes.
We're back to that Warbreaker theory where like it's either one deity who's trying to fight like themselves in different perspectives, or it's a bunch that are like playing a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. So
She didn't hear a single word we said.
I
Darkness.
did. No, I did.
We
I'm gonna
just
be honest.
spouted a bunch of
I
philosophical shit.
I have some answers that I can't share just yet.
Does this book have a next book?
You will learn. I can reveal stuff to you during Arcanum Unbounded regarding.
God, so I have to wait another months.
No, just tell us what the heck. We finished the book already.
Well, because remember, there's more stuff from this planet in Arcanum Unbounded.
Wait, months.
I still want that tournament. I still want the tournament.
Oh yeah, when Mythic you were gone, Darkness was saying he wanted like some of the characters from like this book to fight characters from like Warbreaker and stuff and see what would happen.
Warbreaker would kill them. Murder them.
So Serene and Rowden then exchange crafty pendants, and the one that Rowden gives to Serene was crafted by Tan, which is very sweet. And then Father Omen states that they are married, and Rowden asks if it's everything Serene had wanted, and Serene says it was wonderful, but the wedding night will be more wonderful. So yeah, were you happy that Serene was finally married by the end of the book?
Did you understand that though?
Yes, I understood it.
Sure?
Yes.
Are you sure you understood what she meant?
I got it. Thank you.
She's talking about sex. Not
Yes,
sure if you understood.
I get that. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't know because you're abstinent, so I wasn't sure.
Anyways. So yeah, were you guys happy that Serene was finally married by the end of the book?
I mean, we all knew it was gonna happen.
I don't know.
I just
was it
wish
Darkness or someone said she wasn't gonna get married?
Yeah, she was gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was gonna get married after she died.
Yeah, she'll be married as a corpse. You know.
No, as a return.
Oh, returned? Yeah.
It's an Elantrian.
Yeah.
I think Darkness said she was gonna die and become an Elantrian as well.
I mean,
I wanted.
No
I don't know why.
how.
I'm just like,
Yeah,
wait.
I mean, she's from a place that can be a
Yeah, she could
right?
one day become an Elantrian.
Like I said.
Oh my god! What if she's the Elantris?
What do you mean the Elantrian?
In all honesty, Darkness, the way this book is going, it's probably Rowden who is the Elantrian. Because the man gets everything.
Alright, let's do the epilogue, and then we're gonna do the postscript that you guys haven't read yet.
That you're going to read to us? Yes.
Yes. So the epilogue starts with Aeon An, meaning truth and fact.
I thought we were done with this Aeon shit.
Now the epilogue gets one too.
You said you were done.
I said for the final chapter, this is the Aeon we get.
The final Aeon.
We get Serene's point of view for the epilogue. It's a week after the wedding, and Rauden has apparently tried to abolish the noble system, but the people wouldn't let him. Thus, he instead makes them responsible for caring for the people of the outer parts of the country. Did you think this was a good use of the nobles?
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Throw the nobles into fucking poverty for all I care.
She notes that Galadon is somehow still bald, even though all the other Elantrians grew white hair. She also notes that Adian is an Elantrian, which Kin's family had hidden with makeup. She had also learned that Kin was actually Aventio's older brother, not the younger brother, and thus likely should have inherited the throne. And she notes that her dad won't speak about it, and she's like, I need to fucking figure out that. Terena shows up with her father, who seems to have become depressed and dazed since Royal's death, which he fucking caused. So yeah, what do you think about the fact that Kin should have been king? Or we kind of went over that earlier. My question about whether you think he would have made a better king. We did that earlier.
He would have been a better king.
Yeah. Rauden then nods to Serene, and she walks past Idon's grave along with 4 others for Royal, Eondel, Karada, and Sauron. The area was to become a place to remember those who fought to save Erelon, as well as the man who had tried to crush it. Serene then approaches a final grave for Hrathen. Serene makes a speech for Hrathen, saying to remember him not as an enemy, but of one who changed sides and saved them. He saved her and Rauden, and also gave the command to Aventio to get the Armada ready, that they may not be alive without him, with or without Elantris. Hrathen's grave has a sword in it with his cloak attached, fluttering in the wind. What did you think about Serene's speech and about Hrathen?
She gave Hrathen way too much credit. He needs to have died in vain, and nobody should know his name ever.
I don't know. He redeemed himself in the end.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Just one good action does not mean you redeem yourself. You cannot.
I like Hrathen.
You cannot dip something in mud and then wipe a slight bit off and be like, it's clean. It's not clean. This man is evil.
All right. Well, you guys ready for the postscript?
Yep.
All right.
As I just throw pictures into this Discord.
Wait. Oh, here it is. I apparently bookmarked the wrong page. Hoid the beggar sat on the side of a mountain, carefully unwrapping the bandages from his face. A small crystalline pool filled a cleft in the rock beside him. Perhaps waist deep at its lowest point, it barely counted as a pool. Hoid had taken baths in tubs larger than that. Beneath him, the city of Elantris glowed with a splendid light. Soft, reassuring, the light seemed to ascend high into the sky to the unknown god's domain itself. Hoid finally got the bandages off his face, then whipped his gloves off his hands with a dramatic gesture and thrust both arms out before himself, fingers splayed. His arms and hands looked exactly as they had when he first put on the bandages a day earlier. Damn, he said. You didn't honestly expect to find yourself transformed. I kind of did, Hoid admitted, looking over his hands, hoping to spot something glowing beneath the skin. He failed to locate even the faintest glimmer of illumination. You would have felt the effects earlier, Hoid. Hoid, he said. That's rather important distinction here. That's what I said. Hoid. Never mind, Hoid said, standing up and absently brushing off his trousers, which sent up a cloud of dust. Beggar costume. Right. He turned to regard his companion, a hovering dark sphere, about the size of a melon. It somehow sucked in the light, and didn't have distinct edges that Hoid could make out. It just kind of blended out into the air, warping everything around it like a stone dropped onto a sheet of silk, stretched tight. It was ringed with a pattern of misty symbols. They ran like a hoop from its top, around the side, to the bottom, then back up to the top. Well, the sphere said, now what? I once ate a live frog, you know, Hoid replied, tucking the bandages away into a hidden pocket. Well, it was mostly like a frog. Had an extra leg or two and was violet in color, but basically the same thing. Slimy, amphibious, etc. I'm certain it tasted awful. Perfectly nauseating in every regard. It wiggled as it went down. He shivered. When I reflect upon my illustrious life, that moment inevitably surfaces as the nadir of my experiences so far. I thought I'd found mine, the sphere said, and then I met you. Good execution, Hoid noted, stepping up to the rocky edge of the pool. Unexpected and snappy. I thought your kind wasn't allowed a sense of humor. Nonsense, the sphere said. You think there isn't poignant and undeniable humor in the fact that we are so reliant upon humankind. The entire universe laughs, Hoid. We have to be deaf not to hear it. Hoid smiled. So, the sphere said, frog. I think of that moment, Hoyd replied, holding up one finger, and I realize something important. That your most awful experiences are never the ones you're anticipating? No, but I'm sure I can use that idea someday. So thank you. Wade took a deep breath, looking over the shining city, brilliant even in the face of the dawning daylight. No, I realized that as terrible, revolting, and miserable as that day was for me, at least I wasn't the frog. He fell silent. A moment later the sphere chuckled. Yes, they did have a wider range of emotions than Hoyd had assumed. He needed to be careful not to let interactions with one member of a race, even a synthetic race, color his view of them all. He turned back to the sphere. There is beauty in every disaster, friend, if you are clever enough to find it. Is that so? You have failed utterly, Hoed. You are not one of them. You haven't the powers you promised us you'd gain. You've accomplished nothing. What beauty is there in this situation? Hoyd stepped out over the pool with one foot. You do not know me well, friend, so I will forgive you such a silly question. The beauty, it lies in the fact that there are secrets that remain unknown. He smiled broadly, and I love a good puzzle. He leaned forward and dropped into the small pool with a splash, then vanished. So what did you think of the postscript?
Just about as boring as the rest of the book.
You didn't enjoy that?
I mean, great to know Hoyd is actually short for Hoed.
It's not short for Hoed.
It's short for Ho.
It's a Ho.
So yeah. So just so you know, I believe that dark ball of light is a skaze.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
What do you think it is? A dark ball of
We
light
talk-
that's melon-sized and sucks in light instead of releasing light.
So it's basically Nightblood, but in orb form.
They are wrong. Yeah. But the thing is, we talked about a skaze, right?
There was
I can't
briefly the
remember.
mention, Dila says that the skaze were right, that Elantrians are not invulnerable. Do you want to know what a skaze is?
I mean, I want to know a lot of things, but you don't seem to. You want to keep holding it in.
So the skaze is basically the opposite of a Seon.
Yeah.
They're the same as a Seon, but they're basically like its counterpart. And yeah, so Hoyt goes
Great.
into the
I'm
pool of water.
happy for the vague. I'm happy for the vague explanation that we already technically knew.
Well,
What is a Seon?
Well, Hoyt calls them a synthetic race, so they're definitely created. They're not just like natural.
I mean, they have the thing. Oh, I mean, okay. So it doesn't say they don't state anything in that about a skaze having an Aeon in it.
They have
Maybe.
weird symbols circling it, but not a symbol in the center.
In it, yeah. Uh-huh.
So Hoyt goes into the pool, but he doesn't disintegrate, but he falls into the pool and disappears. What do you think that means?
Uh,
I mean, we already know though that you don't have to, like, you could just choose not to die. So
I'm going through a lot of like possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and one that's like more like most likely like popping up in my head like a lot right now
Mm-hmm.
is that like he's like a deity, right? Or trying to reach that point, and the pool is like somehow connected to the lantern one.
every
Right.
wizard would.
Sorry, I think you cut out for me. My headset did a weird thing. What'd you say?
Like
Wizard?
like
Oh, that was me. I said as every wizard would.
Oh.
Go ahead, Darkness.
like what if it's since it dissolves Elantrians, right?
Mhm.
What if it like gives him like power?
Mm.
Because what's it called again?
The skaze?
Yeah, it seems to be like close to him or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, the explanation, which you can kind of read through the lines, but if you kind of have really read it through multiple times, basically Hoyt has promised the skaze that he would become an Elantrian. His whole thing was he wanted to become an Elantrian. He's bandaged himself up hoping that he had become an Elantrian and was trying to hide it. He unwraps himself. Unfortunately, he's not one. And this guy said, you had promised us you would become one. And he says he's not disappointed because life is full of puzzles, and that's always exciting. And then he drops himself into the pool and disappears. That is what happens. And, again, you guys should know Hoyd.
Yeah, should we?
Yes. Not as a beggar, but as someone else. I was very specific previously to emphasize his name when he was a storyteller. And he told the story of the first returned.
Yeah, are you telling me he's the guy who originally was in the pool?
No.
Oh my god, he's the dude. The one with the fucking scent shit. He's the one with the scent shit, right?
He's the one with the sand.
Fuck. Oh, what the fuck? I didn't know they connected. That's it. I don't think that's like connection though, right? Like, is it like a legit? Like, it's like, you know.
So originally my plan was not to tell you guys this till after the first 3 Mistborn books, but I kind of let a couple hints slip, and also because of the postscript, I thought you guys were going to get it a lot more, but you didn't. But basically, all of the books I have on our list are connected. There are characters you will meet that will be in multiple books. The earlier books have less of them than the later books.
Mythic, you remember when Theory asked for a storyteller?
Ah, okay.
That's him.
Yeah, sorry. I thought Mythic caught on to that. Yeah, so the storyteller.
I have very bad memory. Okay, unless something stands out. That dude did not stand out to me.
I was I tried my best to be like Hoyd, the storyteller, like always using his name because I was wondering if you guys would pick up on it later or not.
It's because there's a lot of old people in all of these books.
Yeah, but so Hoyd is specifically referred to in both the last book and this book as looking old. Or sorry, sounding old but looking old but sounding a lot younger than he is. Like he pretends to be older than he actually is. Like he always has white hair and he looks old, but he's actually quite a bit younger.
So is he a consistent like character?
Hoyd will be in every single book that we read.
He's the fucking deity for every motherfucker then. Like, there's no way.
He's basically the Stan Lee cameo of these books.
So there's a big thing about people who write books, or people say about people who write books that they always put a self-insert in.
Hoyd is not a self-insert. Hoyd is not a self-insert. He is definitely not. Brandon specifically talks a lot about how Hoyd is very difficult for him to write.
Yeah, because it's hard to insert himself into a book.
No, Hoyd is very different from Brandon's. The only thing that's similar is the kind of storyteller aspect, but their personalities are very, very different. But yeah, so basically what I had been, which I had accidentally kind of given hints at Mythic previously, was that there is no sequel to Warbreaker. That does not mean you may never see another Warbreaker character.
Yeah, but it doesn't answer the questions, is what I'm saying.
No, but I'm saying basically you...
Give me answers to the questions. That's all I want.
Midnight, can you like try and give more detail about the setting in which they were in that last part?
In the postscript, they were at the pool of water that
Rowden was at, and
like,
that he had dropped the people in.
Huh? Like that exact pool.
Yes, it was the same pool.
Yeah. But...
Okay, so
what?
What if it's less that they get dissolved and more that they get like transported, but not physically because their bodies can't handle it?
I mean, okay. Well, where are they being transported to, Darkness?
I mean, that's what we're gonna find out whenever we see another part of this.
Are we gonna see the guy? Are we gonna see your favorite character back in Mistborn?
Doubt it. But I mean, like, it makes sense.
But yeah, so I just wanted to make sure you guys know that yes, in books, more so as the books go on, there's obviously more cameos in later books, but you may see familiar faces in future books that we read.
I'm making the prediction now that Darkness, your favorite character, comes back in some book.
Which one, Sauerland?
Yep, I don't know what book. I'm gonna watch for him.
Oh, by the way, the only thing that saved like the ending for me and that actually made me feel like something was when they were discussing the Sauron's grave or whatever. They gave him one too. Yeah.
He was important to Rowden. He made sure to make a grave for him.
Was his temporary boyfriend until he got to his wife again.
But so another reason why I was like, please don't look up things after we read books, is because again, as I said, there may be characters in other books.
I'm just gonna say this now. When I look up pictures for shit, there ain't no way. Like I could see a name. All right, there's no way I'm gonna know something about the next book. Like honestly, I could have looked up Hoyd from Warbreaker and probably still had no idea.
I would have been like, who the fuck is
Pictures.
this?
Yeah, like they could have literally put a picture of him sitting at the pool with a giant orb or a black orb, and I would have been like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, this isn't the person I'm looking up. And I would have just cast it aside like it didn't matter. Like, it would never matter. I can't even remember Warbreaker, right? Like, I can remember the bits and pieces that I actually watched.
But
I don't
yeah,
remember
so
no storyteller
is-
from Warbreaker.
yeah, so basically, after the Mistborn trilogy, when we go into Arcanum Unbounded, there's a whole bunch of information about there's a whole bunch of information about like the different like going into Hoyd and crossovers, and that's why I was originally going to see if you guys caught on before then.
Oh my god, he's scouting people for the tournament.
For the tournament. Anyway, so before we go on to the Mistborn trailer, what are your overall thoughts on Elantris? Who is your favorite characters? And
Boring book. Yeah. No character's my favorite.
Wow. Darkness.
I
I'm
mean,
assuming
you
your favorite
want me
character
to
is Sauron.
It was better at the end. Not the end I would particularly like usually enjoy.
Yeah, I would have rather Salin walked out of the pool as well.
It did get like saved in some areas in my opinion, but at least we got to know how some of the magic works. I obviously you know who my favorite character is.
Yes.
I didn't like 80% of the characters in this book though.
I will also say the reason we read Elantris here is because I specifically chose the order of books. Partially again Warbreaker because it was free, but I also tried to do the order of books in a way that you would potentially get the most out of these little like hints from other books.
Okay, I take it back. All right, my favorite is Delof.
Your favorite is Delof. Okay.
I mean, he's the only one that I can actually understand his motives, and he doesn't seem like he's just a plot-driven character that's like, okay, well, we throw him in here. He's invulnerable to pretty much anything.
Saulin's not plot-driven.
Who?
Sauron.
Sauron was plot-driven. He was protecting the guy who has plot armor.
He died.
Protecting the man with plot armor.
Okay, but where's he now?
Where is Delof now?
Exactly.
Dead. They're both dead.
Exactly. So he's the only one who wasn't there to further this man's plot armor. He actually tried to stop this man's plot armor. Unsuccessfully.
I failed by furthering it even more.
Are you guys ready for Mistborn?
No, because
Yes. Can I read it all
Oh.
right now?
I do have a prediction that you said there was going to be like a continuation or some shit.
So
for
there's going to
Elantris
be
books, right?
2 more Elantris books eventually. There are currently 2 Elantris, not really Elantris, but Cell, which is the planet Elantris is based on. Cell short stories. One is Elantris based. One is in a completely different country with a completely new magic.
I think that fucking Dark Saiyan or whatever, there's going to be more involved about that in those stories.
I'm really
Probably.
hoping in the continuations, like the proper books of Elantris, we will get a lot more about how the Seance and Skays are made. Yeah, I do have a lot of theories, but as I said, there's stuff from Arcanum
tell me
Unbounded.
things? I want theories. What are your theories? God, we never get your theories.
For real, it was like
Our theories. Oh.
The thing, I'm trying to think of like how much I want to give away.
Mythic. What's your theories? But you never give us yours. I mean, God.
Here's my thoughts. No.
Yeah, like God.
I think they
I
are.
don't know what you
Okay,
like.
fine. I think that they are splinters of gods. They are pieces of gods.
I don't.
But how does that
I
make
don't
them
do that.
synthetic? Yeah, well, okay. Let's go down that road, right? How does that make them synthetic?
I can't tell you without spoilers for other stuff.
Oh, well, okay. Well, Sam, never mind then.
You want my theory?
I
That's my
knew-
theory. I can't explain it. I told you I couldn't give more information, but you got my theory.
But that's the whole thing. When you have a theory and you try to somebody tries to challenge that theory so that
Oh my
you
God,
can see other doors and avenues that possibly may or may not open or close. I mean, I wouldn't know.
What if this is all just like in the same universe?
I mean, it kind of is.
No, they
I
are.
obviously.
like-
That's the whole point. Is they're
Yeah.
in the same universe.
Yeah.
These are all
saying,
different
like,
planets in the same
If
universe.
Hoyd can just
Okay,
Hoyd
then-
can go from one place to another, yeah, it's the same exact universe.
Okay, then
Different
the
planets,
like
possibly.
top deal is that there's a shit ton of fucking deities then,
Yeah.
and they're all just like dealing with their own planetization. So I mean, they have to have issues too, you know?
Maybe.
All right. So for anybody who's watched Critical Role, I will put it in the same standard that they have put in it with their deities in their world. Gods are like batteries. We have to charge them as with our faith. We charge the gods, and then at some point, a battery needs to be put to rest. You cannot have a battery that is everlasting. At some point, it has to be put to rest. So at some point, these gods have to die or have to take a break.
But what dictates, in your theory, Midnight, what would dictate certain gods to be
She can't answer anything.
like
I'm just curious.
the dark ones and then like the light ones? Like,
Good and evil gods.
but what, like, really? You think like there would be a category for that?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're,
That's
I'm
just
going D&D
intention
reference.
based.
Yeah, I'm just going D&D reference, but like, I mean, you have like a whole slew of different what's it called? I can't think of what the name of it's called, but where you have good, evil, and neutral. Like, so I would feel like that would go across pretty much any medium of media. So, 'cause, I mean, you have it in real life. So,
I'm
Great.
just wondering what.
I mean, that's just
You know
my
what?
theory on her going off of the vague theory.
I'm
she
trying
gave
my
us.
best without.
I
ruining
know
things.
you are.
Okay,
I
let's
know
just-
you are.
Let's just move on.